Pretty good passenger.
Well, welcome everybody to our first Warrior Women Zoom meeting tonight. I'm really excited to kind of see everybody's faces again. And those that didn't get to take part in the launch at PXP, we welcome you as well. You know what, tonight we're going to talk about a little bit about limited versus limitless. And I think, we grow up in this world and it's just, we're bombarded, like limits are all around us, right? So we start getting comfortable with limits for whatever reason, but it doesn't have to be that way. And we really need to take the limits off, and we need to live limitless. And that all starts with the mind, right? So to catch everybody up real quick that might have missed the launch. So Warrior Women was formed when God woke me up from Proverbs 31. And when we think of Proverbs 31, I guarantee you every single one of your minds immediately went to the woman, right? The virtuous woman. Because that's what we do. That's immediately where my mind went to, right? So as I start studying and I always take it back to the Hebrew style, warrior came out of that, right? And so warrior woman is how this kind of came to be. But as I'm studying it, it started. I hope that I can make you kind of fall in love with this part with the Proverbs 31 woman. And that is, as I started studying, it started kind of unfolding and God started revealing some things. And that is, Abraham actually wrote Proverbs 31:10, Proverbs, the woman, as it was a poem, and it was dedicated to his wife, Sarah. So he wrote it about Sarah, and it was actually given at her funeral. And so since then, it's been passed down generation to generation to generation. And it's actually read on the Sabbath from the husband to the wife in honor of her. So I don't know about you, but I've only ever really heard it when you go to church on Mother's Day, right? And when I leave church on Mother's Day, I'm thinking, I need to be better. I need to do more. I need to get up earlier. I need to stay late. I need to get diversified a little bit more. Your mind just starts comparing to her, to that woman. Instead, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way it's meant. It's meant to be in honor of her, and that you can do all things. There is no limit. So whatever you do, just do it in honor, right? Or do it with God, do it in honor, and let him flow through you. And so to look back and remember, so God woke me up and said Proverbs 31. He didn't say Proverbs 31:10. So it caught my attention as I was studying. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Proverbs 31, let me go back. So if you go back and actually start at Proverbs 31, it actually starts off as King Lemuel's mother was prophesying over her son, who was and what kind of king not to be, and what kind of wife not to marry, and then what kind of king to be, and then what kind of wife to marry. And she immediately just started reciting the poem, because remember, it's passed down from generation to generation to generation. And so to me, I started looking at it a little bit different. But here's what also really stuck out with me. Back in those days, women didn't buy land. Women didn't deal with finances. They didn't go start businesses, right? That's not what women did back in that time. But yet Abraham said that in honor of his wife and what all she could do. So he's speaking life into women all the way back into Genesis. There is no limit on us. All the way back into that day. So can you imagine, back then they just didn't do that. And yet it it still resonates with us as of today. We are our own worst enemy, right? We mentally put limits on ourselves. We mentally start making excuses. But here, there is no limit on you, none. And I want to use a couple of ladies as a prime example that where they are. So I don't care if you just started here in your business, you might have been here a year or so.
There you go.
You might have been here 2 years. But what's holding you back? What's that limit that's put on you? There is no box here on you, right? And so whatever that is, we're going to remove that. And I want you to start thinking differently. It's going to start with your mindset. But, you know, there's some ladies that just took it upon themselves to go to Milan. I mean, seriously. They just went. And I want you to kind of hear their story, because perception and then reality didn't match up. So when you hear their stories, and then when you look on social media, like, well, how did they get to go? Were they invited? Why wasn't I invited? Listen, we all own our own businesses here. Nobody is your boss. Nobody tells you you cannot go to Milan. Nobody. And if you want a raise, you just go. What do? Run the system. We post, we get customers, right? And we turn them over into brand partners, and we just repeat that process. So if you want to raise, go do that 3 times more. Go share in person. You don't have to wait for your yearly thing that you go in and evaluation and hope to get a raise then. Or if you don't have to wait for somebody to get fired to get promoted, you promote yourself by promoting others and lifting them up. So this is where I want we all own our own businesses. So I don't there is no limit on you whatsoever. So I know I've got Dr. Crystal's with us. I've got Tammy with us. I know Robin's joined us. And then I know Ashley Antley went. I know Andrea Rosser went. But I just want to hear from their perspective. And I want y'all to hear from them, their mindset on going to PXP in Milan. Because I think what made that happen for them. So Dr. Crystal, you want to go first?
Why, sure. Why not? Oh my goodness. Hi, everybody. I love that we're at capacity. That's pretty incredible. You guys, so what God gave me was this simple statement. Stop asking for the invitation. Start making a proclamation. And so what I mean by that is, so many times us ladies wait for the invitation. We want to be chosen. It's in our nature. Like, God gave us this nature for someone to choose us, whether it's a spouse or, you know, it like takes you back to elementary days of choosing who's on what team, and we all want to be chosen. And in business, that's not how business runs. And I'm a businesswoman. And so even as a doctor, I became a doctor because, one, I do like to help people. But the one thing about healthcare is it's never going away. I mean, I made a business decision when I decided to go to chiropractic school. And it's no different. I had to put myself in the right places to, you know, grow my chiropractic practice. I started hanging out at the golf course because I knew that lots of business deals were done on the golf course. If you wanted to hang out where the business people were and you wanted to have the best people, then you needed to hang out with the best people. And so that's sort of been the same thing here with business. As I've started to grow my business, it's like, okay, where is everybody going? Well, that means if there is an event happening, I'm going to be at the event. I'm not ever going to miss an event because that's like, I want to be in the know. And then when I saw Milan, I hope all of us are in this season of growth and change. I know I certainly am. And I haven't traveled outside of the United States by myself before. And I know there's some people who will say, well, I heard somebody at Orlando who are like, I'm getting on a plane for the very first time by myself. And I'm going to travel by myself. And she was so overwhelmed, but she was so proud of herself. And I was like, I booked a ticket to Italy. And how did that happen? Well, one of my parents' downline enrolled a gentleman from Poland. And he has a podcast. And so I went and I did a podcast with him. And I said to him, if I was to come to Milan PXP, would you come and would you bring all of your new people? And he's like, yes, of course. And so while I was on the phone, while Cameron Mott was doing a conversation, he said, are you coming to PXP? And I said, yes. And he said, would you speak if you come? And I said, I'm coming. And he said, you're coming. I said, I'm coming. If you need me to speak, I'll be there. I'll be there. And there you go. That's how that happened. Why? Because I was willing to have the conversation and I had no plans of going to Milan. I had no intention, but it's one of those things, success loves speed. And so, like when you know that you know that you know, the minute that I said that to Roy, he's like, are you coming to PXP? And I'm like, yes, I am. It kind of came out of my mouth. And then Cameron's like, you are? And I was like, yes. And the next thing you know, I'm getting a ticket to Milan. It was expensive, but I was willing to invest. I didn't wait for the invitation. I made the proclamation. I'm going. And then everything just fell in place. And then the day came that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get on a plane and the passport and luggage and the metro and train tickets. And it was a lot. And then like the stage was the hardest stage I was so nervous. Here you go, guys. You want me to be real? I gave myself diarrhea. I was so nervous. I wanted to puke. Because all of these people were speaking different languages. There was like 6 different languages, but everybody had to practice their speech in English. Thankfully, I speak that. But do you know that there were people on the stage that had to script their talk and convert it to English and speak their speech in English, even though that's not their language?
Wow.
And these ladies were a hot mess. They were just as nervous as I was, but they were from Italy and one was from Paris. And it was one of the best experiences as a businesswoman I've ever had. And I got up on that stage and I had to learn to speak knowing that I had to hold my own energy on the stage because I couldn't get any feedback from the people in the crowd. Because they were on a delay because they had the headsets that were translating what I was saying to them. And so I had to really be okay with just saying what I knew instead of waiting for feedback from the crowd. And that's a new place for me. I realized that I'm a people pleaser, that I like if the crowd gets excited, well, then it blows my energy up and I like go in for it and it fuels me. I had to hold my own space. And so just that moment of when Roy said, "Are you going to be at PXP?" and I said yes, I'm so glad I did. Will I go to all? Like, no. But this one, yes. And it changed my life. I'm really glad that I went. But I had to listen for the nudge. I had to follow my heart. And I didn't ask Brent Palmer if he thought it was okay. He's like, "You're going what? You're getting out of your business? You're going where?" And I'm like, "I'm supposed to go." He's like, "I don't know that that's a great idea." I said, "That's okay. You're not my boss." I bet you guys are all shocked that I said that. And that's the thing. You don't have a boss here. Like, do what you need to do, but do it for you. Do it for your family. And if you don't want to go to Milan, guess what? You don't have to go to Milan. I just love the fact that we get to make our own choices. And it doesn't matter if I'm a woman or a man. Like, I'm just in business. I'm making business decisions. So anyways, that was my experience with Milan. And because I was willing to go to Milan, it opened up an opportunity where Lucy West then called and said, "Would you be interested? The Japanese leaders saw that you were willing to go to Milan. They're asking if you'll come to Tokyo." And I was like, yes. So then I got the invitation because I was willing to make the proclamation first. So now they're like, "Oh, she's willing to travel." And so now I get a new experience to go to Tokyo in a couple weeks. But it comes at a cost, a price. My team knows that I'm out of the pocket. So we'll see how it does with numbers, but it's been a really great learning experience.
So I think a lot of us would not even realize or think that Dr. Crystal would even get nervous or get uncomfortable. I mean, but she's traveling into a country she's never been in, doesn't speak the language that she's going into, right? And their system of transportation is probably way different than what she's accustomed to. So even Dr. Crystal got uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Yep.
And she just took and stretched her limits, like really became limitless. She had no limits on her. And that's what this is about. That's what your business is about. And it's not so much just about for you, but for your family and what you can truly do for your family in generations to come. So thank you so much for sharing that, because that is what this is about, truly being a warrior out there for you and for your family. And I just love it. Thank you. Thank you. Such an inspiration too. All right, Miss Tammy, are you available?
I am. Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
We've got you.
Hey, beautiful, life-giving women. Oh my goodness. It's so good to see all your beautiful faces tonight. We are warrior women and we are life-giving women. And that's the thing I love about the Proverbs 31 woman. She was a life giver. And really, she was stamped in the image of Eve. If you look back into scripture, Eve's name in the original context and language means life giver. And she doesn't just give physical life, although certainly we do that, but she gave life to everything. Everywhere she went, she brought love and life and laughter and color and joy. And we've been created. We're all stamped Eve as well. We all have the created image of Eve and the Proverbs woman on us. And so I want you to remember that life, the story is Adam was created outside the garden. I don't know if all of you know that story. I mean, it's a true story. Adam was created outside of the garden and brought to the garden. But when God created Eve, he created her in the middle of the garden, in the middle of the most perfect, beautiful place there ever was. And so there's such a longing for us to live these lives of beauty and passion, and for us to be these life-giving women that live these lives on purpose and lives of vision. And and I'm going to just use the story of Eve, that was her created identity of who she was, of who God made her to be. But then we know what happened, right? It's like sin entered the world and she made a decision to act out of fear, feeling like she was missing out. In fact, I would suggest that Eve's real sin was that she believed God was withholding something good to her. That somehow everything else was getting it better than she was. And God was withholding something from her by not allowing her to eat from the tree. And so this idea somehow that God is withholding the best for us, but somebody else is getting it, like God isn't big enough to give us all everything that we need. It's this little tweak that the enemy does in our mind that allows us to believe, or that we choose to believe, that somehow when we see another succeeding, we see another having this or that or this, or a good solid marriage, or kids that are grown up and doing wonderful things, or a woman that's lost all the weight and you're still struggling, or a family that has all the money and taking big vacations. I don't care what it is. When we compare ourselves, we move into this whole place of a fallen Eve. And that's what happened with Eve. She stopped believing that God wanted to give her something good. And tonight, I want you to pause right now. I want you to pause. And I want you to take a moment. What do you believe that God is withholding to you that you see someone else have? And somehow you are losing trust. You are losing that God's good. You're wondering, is God for me? He's for her, but how about for me? It is in that pivotal place that we make a decision to use our fallenness, that place where we really have to battle. Ladies, let's get real. Women, we struggle with comparison. With our bodies, with our minds, with our whatever we have, we look at what another woman has and what we don't, or vice versa. We look at what we have and another woman doesn't. Whatever the case is, we've moved into this idea that somehow God is withholding something from us. And it's just not true. God's not withholding something. God never, ever withholds something good from you, ever. And so Eve had to make a decision. She was created in beauty for beauty. She was a life-giving woman. She fell into sin, this place of her fallen nature. But something really beautiful happened, was God restored her life. So we're created in the image of Eve. We have fallen in the image of Eve, but we've been recreated, restored in the image of Eve. And what is so amazing is that God still did beautiful, amazing things in Eve's life. He restored her back to the original intent that he had for her. Was there a cost to disobeying God? Yes, there was. Was there a consequence? There was. I can tell you for myself, I've had many consequences, especially when I was younger, of choices I made that today I still, I still grieve over those things. Anybody else know what I'm talking about? Wave at me. I don't want to be vulnerable out here all by myself. But we know we all carry stuff. But God's desire is to restore us to his original intent, which is to be a life-giving woman. And so I want to encourage you tonight. Milan was an amazing experience for me. The reason I went is not the reason Crystal went. In fact, after I made the decision to go, I had no idea Crystal was going. Isn't that interesting? Like we made decisions independently. So please understand that yes, what you saw was a beautiful, fabulous experience, but on the backside of it was a cost to be paid to do that. And the cost to be paid was financial. It was time away from my husband. 8 days away from Jer Bear. And I have to tell you, my husband is 81. I'm married to a man that's 17 years older than I am. And when I make a decision to leave him, it's sacrificial for a lot of different reasons. But I made that decision with his support. I'm very happy to say, and his encouragement. But I went because I had team members that wanted to go that had international businesses. They wanted to build their businesses international. I'm a lifelong learner. Do you want to be a lifelong learner? Then you're constantly going to have daily, going to need to make decisions to do things you're uncomfortable with. Every single time. And every opportunity that comes to you that you think you can't do it. I want to really encourage you. If you are a woman of faith, and I think you are because you wouldn't be on this Zoom, I want you to go to God. I want you to pray, Lord, what do you have for me in this? And then let God speak to you and make the risk. Jump out there and do something you're not familiar with. Not only is it good for your brain to keep you sharp and smart and keep that dementia and Alzheimer's and all of that away from you, but it also gives God the opportunity. I use this statement a lot. God works with moving objects. God works with moving objects. When you sit and you say, well, bring it to me, God. Sounds great, right? But it doesn't work that way. If you look in scripture over and over and over, it was acts of faith
Every time.
that moves God's heart. It's acts of faith. I went to Milan as an act of faith. I went over there because I wanted to learn. What do they know that I don't? What are they doing that I'm not doing? What to go on, and Crystal nailed it when she talked about going on stage. You know, I've been a speaker for 30 years of my life. I've never gone on a stage where the majority of people don't understand what I'm saying in English. The delay was challenging. There was translation. Everybody had headsets on. The noise in the crowd was so distractive. And when I went up there, just as Crystal, there when you talk and share, there's no feedback. And so I was nervous to do it. So I'll tell you, I was nervous too. And I got up there and I just shared my heart out and hoped that somebody got something from what I said. And when I left the stage, I didn't know. I didn't know what the feedback was. I didn't know how people received the information, but I had to stand and be confident in this is what I've been called to do. And so one last thing I want to share with you was when I made a decision to go there, that's when I was reached out to come and speak. As an international woman coming from, we had 3 women speaking from 3 different markets, and I represented North America, really the United States. Claudia Page represented Canada, Sonia Evans, Australia and New Zealand. And we talked about why would an international woman come to a PXP far away? And so I talked about community. I wanted to experience their community. I wanted to know, what can I bring to the United States that's going to improve everything that we do and everything for my team? So there's always a cost to be made, but really my heart and passion for all of you tonight is for you to hear that message, that when we move into comparison, comparison is the thief of joy. Just write it down. Put it on a postcard, put it in your refrigerator, put it in your car, put it on the mirror in your room, put it on the long mirror when you put clothes on. Comparison is the thief of joy. And believing that somehow God has forgotten you is the lie of Satan. It's a lie. He has not forgotten you. So I want to encourage you tonight to take a risk. Go outside your comfort zone. Do something you've never done to get a result you've never had. Make a declaration, as Crystal said. Make a proclamation. Don't say what you don't want to happen. Say what you do want to happen, right? So I had to say, I don't want to just fall on my face on that stage. I said to myself, I want to impart encouragement to the people that are here. Change your rhetoric. Every time you speak fear, you give it energy. You tell God you don't believe him. Switch your rhetoric, switch your words. Instead of saying what you don't want, declare what you do want. And then move with action towards that thing. Trust and faith, believing God sees you. God sees you. He loves you. He knows who you are. You are marked. You are a marked woman. So let go of the comparison. Receive the joy that God has for you today and know that he sees you. So that, if I had any takeaway, Ashley, that was my heart message for the women tonight, is that whatever we see on the outside, understand when the garage door goes down in people's lives, right? We have no idea what's really happening in that house.
That's right.
It's
That's
very
right.
easy to look at the external house, whatever that looks like, and think they've made it, they're a success, and maybe what's actually happening in that home is far from that. So ask God to give you a new vision. Ask him to give you eyes to see how he's working in your heart today. And make a declaration, as Crystal said, God, I believe that you see me. I believe you have not forgotten me. I believe that the best is yet to come. And I'm going to stand on those promises that not only am I created as Eve, I have her image stamped on my heart. I've experienced what it's like to fall and not trust you, but God, I know you're in the process of restoring me. And I'm going to declare I am a restored Eve. I'm a restored woman. And the faithfulness of God. Oh, ladies, someday, if you could hear the depth and breadth of my story and how God has brought me to where I am today. It is only God who did that, but I never gave up believing he could. And so that's my faith for you. My team calls me Moa. Not the product, but Moa, mother of all. And I do feel that. I think at 64, I can be Moa. I can be a mother to younger women and a grandmother to young women, and just let you know that I see you, God sees you, he's with you, and the best is yet to come.
Thank you, Tammy. But Tammy, can I just ask just a couple of things from you real quick? As you're traveling, have you ever, you may have been over there before. Have you ever been over there before?
I've never been to Italy. No, so fun story from 22 to 32. I was a flight attendant for Northwest Airlines at the time, now called Delta.
Mm-hmm.
And so I flew Asia, I flew the Orient, I flew all over Europe, but I never went to Italy. So it was my first time there, and it was absolutely beautiful. We didn't get a lot of time. We were there to work.
And
But
then,
we did-
but being in that room, like Partner Co in Italy, and what filled that room they weren't any different than what filled here in the US over in Orlando, right? It's just everybody's wanting something better for themselves.
Everyone is wanting something better for themselves. I'll just tell you from my heart, RPXP knocked it out of the park. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Their PXP was over the top. It was amazing. It was fabulous, but our PXP was incredible. And the heart of I think our community is so warm and engaging and faith-filled. We have so many faith-filled people in our business. And I didn't experience that as much there, which was also a learning curve, right? That was also, and it was such a younger crowd, lots and lots of 20s and 30s. By far I was the oldest in that crowd, which that in and of itself could have been intimidating, right? Because
Right.
I'm older, they're younger and hip and all that. But I again pressed through that to get to what I ultimately believed was God had called me to go. And I made the decision, I'm going to go, I'm going to do it. I prayed about it, and it was just a clear indication. The answer was yes. I also want to say one thing about piggyback on what Crystal said. I really love that concept that you make a decision and then you figure it out. Sometimes, you know this as brand partners in our business, we have people that have, well, I want to know this and this and this and this, and I want to know the whole comp plan, and I want, it's like I want to know the bonuses, and they want to know everything, but they're not ready for everything, right? They're not ready for it. They don't need everything. They just need the next right thing. And so sometimes when you make a decision, ask God, what is that decision that is in front of you right now? What is that decision in your business? What is the next right thing that is an action-oriented thing that then God can use to move you to that next level? And so you make a decision and then you figure it out. I know a lot of people don't do that, but I find in this business, we have to do that. We have to learn that skill set of making a decision. I'm going to make a decision to post, and then I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make a decision to buy a 10-pack, and then I'm going to figure out a way to sell that. I'm going to make a decision to go to PXP in Orlando. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I don't know who my roommate's going to be, but you make a decision and then you figure it out. So whatever decision that is that you have in front of you today, make that decision. Be courageous. Courage. Ask God to give you courage. Make a decision, then figure it out. It really doesn't happen the other way.
And that's the same thing here, right? You made a decision to join this business or your business, this industry, and then you go figure it out along the way, right? And
Yes.
that's the same thing. And so even Tammy and even Dr. Crystal, and we're going to hear from Robin in just a moment, as long as you've been here, you've been in this industry for a while, you've got a great business, but you got uncomfortable again.
Yep.
Right? Like you still get yourself uncomfortable to get comfortable. And I love that. And I think that is one of the key components that everybody's kind of got in common here that is having success is that you've got to stay uncomfortable, get comfortable, and don't get comfortable. And even them at this level and what kind of business they have, they're still getting uncomfortable to get comfortable. And
I was just reading this. I don't know if you've read these comments, but they're incredible. I mean, the insight from women is just amazing. Melissa Jackson said, enlarge my territory and use me, Lord, to continually advance your kingdom. Well, that's the prayer of Jabez. Enlarge my territory. If your territory is being enlarged, I grant you and I guarantee you that you will be uncomfortable.
right. And when you say those words, don't think you've got that figured out. Don't think it's gonna be Arkansas. You know what? I mean, it can be Japan, it can be Milan, it can be China, it can be Australia. So don't put God back in a box when you say enlarge my territory.
Absolutely.
No limit, no box, no limit, right? Like no
One
limit.
other thing I just want to say about that, and understand that when we pray those kind of prayers, right, we're going to be challenged. We are going to be put in positions that are going to be challenging. However, here's the caveat, the encouragement of that is that God said he will always be with us. He will be our vanguard and our rear guard. He will go before us and he will go around us, that he will bring the people that we need to make that happen. You're not out there on an isolated island. When you pray a challenging, courageous prayer of God, enlarge my territory, understand God is going to bring you the people to do it. He will. And so now start to look, start to pay attention. Who are the people coming into your world? Who are the people coming into your business? Who are the people that are bringing value to your life? God will bring those people because we don't do anything great in isolation. No way. We do it in a community of believers. That's God's idea. It's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, right? They do everything in unity, everything in unity. And so pray, ask God, enlarge my territory, but also start to look at the relationships he's bringing into your life and pay attention to those.
I love that. Thank you so much. So, be careful what you pray, because when it gets answered and you say no, or I can't, don't do that. Don't do that. So be careful, right? Be open. Don't put God in a box, because now you're just limited yourself, right? And that's not what he designed us for, to be limited. Thank you, Tammy. I love that.
Thank you, ladies.
All right, Miss Robin, are you through customs, young lady? Maybe, maybe not.
Probably not. I just went through customs and it was a long line.
So Julie, Tammy, you took Julie over there with you. She went as well. And so that's the first experience for her, right?
Yeah. And she was she was really my catalyst, because she just said, I want to go. I've got relationships over there. She lived in Paris for a year.
Oh, wow.
So she taught English to French speaking children when she was in her early 20s. So she lived in Paris, had a lot of connections still in Europe. She's actually going to PXP in Japan as well. She has a passion to create a market in Korea. She was born in Korea. She has a lot of family in Korea. And so there's a big Korean market, of course, with Japan, Korea. There's a lot going on over there. So I wanted to support everything that she was doing too in her business. And again, that goes back to that's what we do, right? We come alongside. When you are a leader of a team, whether you have, thousands or you have one, it doesn't matter. It's someone that needs your encouragement to come by and stand by. So it was an incredible experience for her. She'll be home a week and then she will leave for Japan's PXP. I will not be going to that. I need time to recover. She is so young, and I'm like, that's why she did it. But I need some time to recover. So yeah.
That's amazing. What a story. What a memories. And that's, that's life. You're living life. You're leading your life instead of letting life lead you. And that's what you have your hands on here with your business.
And
your business.
Robin can speak now as well.
Okay, great. Hey, Robin, so Robin's just making her way back to the U.S. soil from Milan. So do you mind sharing, what was it that made you make your way over there?
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
It could be all of the background noise.
Are you paired to your iPod? Your earpods? They're not diving with the microphone on Zoom.
Well, no, normally when I do something, the rec thing, put the wrong day. Yeah, it's like, okay,
And-
one day.
She's in the airport, just landing.
So I just switched the day. Something. Can you hear me now?
We got you now.
Okay, so that's me. Yeah.
Oh, we love technology, right? And she's traveling. Well, from my understanding with Robin, she made this decision to go all by herself before she even knew anybody else was going, right? And as you can see, she stayed a couple of days behind as everybody else had already made their way back. So she went over there, took the initiative on her own to go on her own dime, go experience PXP over there in Milan, and then came back. But then she found out, I guess, that Tammy and Julie were going, and Dr. Crystal was going as well. And then Brent Palmer and Andrea are over there. And then, you know, Ashley Antley went as well. Ashley Antley's got has a team growing over there. So that was she bought her ticket the moment it launched. So Robin, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We got you now.
Sorry about that, guys. You know, you get a little discombobulated when you're gone. So I don't have a lot of time, but I will just say this, you know, I've traveled a lot by myself, around the world and done a lot of things myself, but I never myself, because I always have God with me. I always have Holy Spirit with me. And can you hear me? You all look frozen.
We got you.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to share was, as soon as I knew it was Milan was happening, I guess in my radar, I decided that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go because I loved.
Oh, she's frozen.
Hey, Ash. What I was going to say was one thing that is a common thread between all of us is that we all love fashion. You know, we're kind of known as guaranteed if they're going to have an event, we're all showing up with bling. We know you all see us showing up in our rhinestones and our pearls and our, Ashley, you pointed out yesterday, I made it home with my Bible and my grandma's pearls. I'm officially a Southern girl. But I'm also officially a Chanel girl. When you say the word Milan, the women who love fashion, man, we're not going to miss out on Milan.
Right? What an experience. And then it get to be a tax write-off because it's a business expense to travel over there. I mean, it's a win-win, a real win-win.
So, and I have to tell you guys a funny. I guarantee you that Brent Palmer did not go to Milan for fashion. In fact, I said, Brent, is that a brand new jacket? And he said, it is. I'm like, where did you get it? It's beautiful. And he's like, the boss. I'm like, Hugo Boss? And he's like, yeah, the boss, something like that. I was like, oh my gosh, you do not deserve the right to wear Hugo Boss if you call it the boss.
The boss.
So yeah, so y'all just have to call him the boss now with his Hugo Boss jacket. But it was incredible, and I'm really glad that God, he had a plan. He brought all of us there, not even knowing that the rest of us were going there. And it was a really special time for all of us to get to spend together, even though it wasn't our intention. So I love how God works. He always has a plan.
I love that. And so, you know, you don't have to go to Milan either, right? There might be a Super Saturday in Pensacola. Go. There could be a Super Saturday in Mississippi. Go, right? Or Jackson, Tennessee, or one coming up, it might be a couple of hours. Go. You don't have to ask for permission. Just go. It's your business. Hear different people speak. Get to meet different people that you've not, get uncomfortable by meeting new people. And that's what they did. They just took it to a whole nother level by a whole nother language. But that didn't stop them, right? So it's all about mindset, the limits versus, limitless. And listen, it goes all the way back. Don't be like the Israelites. I mean, it was easier for God to pull them out from underneath Pharaoh in slavery than it was for them to change their mindset in the desert. They stayed in the desert because they never changed their mindset. Change your mindset. No limits. Be limitless and just go create something that's never been done before for your family and for yourself. So thank everybody here for for joining us tonight. What a great start. I am so sorry that apparently my Zoom room only had 100. Guys, as you can tell, I never really use my Zoom room. So I will make sure that I get that open back up to a lot bigger. And then also to join the Facebook group, Warrior Women, if you haven't, and we can also stream in there as well. We'll put this recording up on Level Up with Todd and Ashley Rowland. And then if we can get it, can we get it in the Facebook group, Warrior Women, Sarah?
Yes, ma'am. We sure can.
Oh, okay. That's definitely where it's going to go first, for sure. So thank you, ladies, so much. And look forward to next month. We're going to have another one. Everybody out
Bye,
there, have a great
guys.
night.
Bye.